We're at the beginning of April 2018, so it's time for another monthly update video in which I'll talk about what went on in March and what we've got coming up this month of April. So I always like to begin by highlighting three big things that either you might have missed or are coming up and you'd be interested in. So here they are. Big thing number one, I did a bookshelf tour video. So if you missed that, you probably want to check it out if you've got an interest in that sort of thing. Big thing number two, I had my first television appearance here on a local news channel on the Ask the Expert segment. I'll talk about that in the March portion. And big thing number three, I started a new type of video, short answers for common questions. So I did 4 of those videos. You might want to check those out as well. So what went on in March? It was not as productive a month as I had hoped, in part because I was struggling with an illness that turns out to be a flu that lasts for quite a while. And my wife has also been sick, both of us, trying to keep up with work. And in my case, what I found is that I would get a bit of work done or I would exercise and then I would just be totally exhausted, unable to concentrate, unable to get other things done. So by the end of the month, I'm still sick now and I still have to kind of watch it. I got to the point where I'd figured out that I needed to marshal my energies and prioritize. But I went through a lot of planning to get things done and then being surprised that I simply did not have the presence of mind or the energy to actually accomplish those. So it was kind of a low-key month in some respects. I did have quite a few events. In our Worlds of Speculative Fiction series, I discussed Robert Heinlein. We focused in particular on Starship Troopers and The Moon is a Harsh Mistress and discussed a few other books. We also had our very first Milwaukee Sophia chapter event. We had a 2-part event. The first part was sort of a community discussion oriented around justice and kindness. The sort of guiding idea was, where do justice and kindness meet up with each other? And then the second part of it, I led the people who attended through a look at Cicero's On Duties and how justice and kindness intersect in that work and fit into the virtues. Then a little bit later, I paired up with Scott Terulli and we went on to Scott Perry's Creative Stoic, and we did a round table on Stoicism and creativity, so that was kind of fun. I also had a few other online events. I did my monthly Ask Me Anything session, very well attended, a lot of good questions. I also did my 2 philosophy pop-ups, one in YouTube Live, one in Facebook Live. And I held my half-hour Hegel sessions, the public one for everybody and the Patreon exclusive one. We had some good discussions in those. And then finished up the month with a great discussion of Seneca at the MKE, that's Milwaukee Stoic Fellowship, which meets every month here in Shorewood. So that was, the events, and that's actually quite a bit now that I think about it. And I had my Marist online class, Worldviews and Values, get started. By the way, if you're interested in that class, I have an earlier version of it, minus the homework. It's not for credit, available in our Reason.io Academy. I'll put a link to that below and actually add a little thing here as a card for it as well. If you're interested in taking that online class. So I started out with my students. They're off to a good clip, most of them. I also did a lot of consulting work over the course of this last month on a variety of different projects. A lot of tutorial sessions and did some philosophical counseling and some coaching as well. I got almost no writing done that I intended to. That was one of the casualties of being ill. And that hopefully I'm going to get to this month. I did, have a few other shows and podcasts come out. So I did some interviews, and you can see those linked to below. I should mention the Channel 4 Ask the Expert segment. So that was going on TV, and it was really an interesting experience. It's one thing to be like, right here in front of a camera talking on YouTube. It's another thing to be in the studio knowing that you have 90 seconds to try to get your message across, and the lights are there, and everything is very sort of set out in terms of its scheduling, and you've got to move from segment to segment. It was really an interesting experience, so I think I'll do some writing about that. But if you want to see the segment, they asked me, what is philosophy? How can it help you? I gave some answers to that. You can see that linked below as well. The other thing that I did accomplish during March was video production. I did not get as much done as I'd hoped. Oftentimes I'll schedule, because of the lighting, I'll schedule my video production for the morning or for the evening, and by most evenings I was just cashed out. So as I mentioned, I did have the bookshelf tour video, which I released just a few days ago. I did manage to get one big household chore done that had been hanging for a long time, and that was to put my bookshelves in order, or rather our bookshelves, because it's the collection that my wife and I have put together. And I culled some volumes. We might be doing some giveaways with those in the near future. I'll have to think about exactly how I'm going to do that. And I put them finally into a more or less rational order, and then I shot a video of it because people have been asking for that for a very long time. Show us what's on your shelves. So that's what I did. I did get 5 of the half-hour Hegel videos. I usually try to get 6 done a month, but I only got 5 done. I did some Cicero core concepts. We're almost done with On Duties at this point. Just have a few more to go. I did 2 interview videos, one of which I had done earlier back in the winter, but only released because I had to get the person who I was interviewing, Matt Flam, to sign off on it. That was about Santayana. And then I did another one with a local grad student who's got a really, really interesting project, Sean Miller, and talking about his dissertation research on sex education and moral theories. And then I did some other things, the event videos, but I also want to mention the Q&A videos. So I started doing these short videos, answers for commonly asked questions. And I wanted to do this in part because I saw people asking the same questions over and over and over again. So it's a useful thing to have out there. And I started with stuff on Stoicism because, I'm very active in Stoic communities, and I knew there's a lot of people asking these same sort of questions. So did quite a few of those, and I'm quite happy with how they've turned out. So that was the month of March. All right, so what is coming up in April? I know a lot of people want to know about that. So we've got a number of events. Most of them are actually online when I think about it. We only have 2 local events. I'll start with those first. So on Thursday the 12th at 7 p.m., we continue our Worlds of Speculative Fiction by looking at L. Sprague de Camp's Complete Enchanter stories. These are very interesting. They use a syllogism vehicle to get themselves into alternate worlds. So there's a lot of stuff to talk about, about the feasibility of this in terms of the philosophical themes. And then much later in the month, again, we have our MKE Stoic Fellowship. That's the Thursday the 26th at 6 p.m., Shorewood Public Library. We're still going through Seneca. We're pretty deep in the letters at this point, And so that's been very enjoyable. So we'll talk about that. And then I've got quite a few online events. I always have philosophy pop-ups, but I only announce those to my Patreon supporters ahead of time. So if you're interested in becoming a supporter and finding out when the pop-ups will occur, I let them know at the beginning of the month, and everybody else finds out the day of. The things that we do have on the calendar on the 11th at 5 p.m. we'll have our half-hour Hegel public Q&A and discussion. So if you've got any questions, confusions, concerns about Hegel, German idealism, even philosophy in general, you're welcome to show up at that. That is something that's underwritten by my Patreon supporters. On the 14th, it's a Saturday at 1 p.m., I will have the AMA, that's Ask Me Anything session. And so that's exactly what it sounds like. You do want to get to that early because the questions pile up, and I'm finding that there are so many of them that I can always answer the ones I have at the start, but towards the end, I don't always get to all of them. And then on the 21st at 2 p.m., I will have my philosophy chat for my Patreon supporters. This is a 1-hour session where they get to video conference with me and get to talk, ask me questions about whatever they're working on or thinking about, and I do my best to try to respond to them. So that's events. What else have we got going on? Still teaching, of course, the Worldviews and Values class from Marist College online. Again, if you're interested in that, you can click on there up in that corner, you can click on the card to find out about it. And you can take the class if you want to online. You won't do the same homework as the students, and it won't be for credit. But that's the nature of that. I have a lot of consulting work lined up, a lot of tutorial sessions lined up. I actually picked up a few new clients and some philosophical counseling and coaching, including some of it locally here in Milwaukee. And I'm hoping to get to some of the writing that I wasn't able to do last month, in particular in my blogs, and starting to spread out the writing in other forums. So we'll see how that works out. I am slated to be in a few interviews. There's some other interviews that should be coming out later this month for podcast episodes, so you might want to stay tuned to my Facebook page or to Reason.io, and you'll see me posting about them, or you can watch Orexis TK too. Every once in a while I do a roundup on there. But a lot of the month is devoted to sort of like trying to get myself back on track, doing kind of spring cleaning, not just of the place, but also of the desktop, and the projects that I've got going on. So that's going to be taking a bit of time. The last thing I'll talk about is videos. What do we have lined up this month? So I'm going to be doing a good bit of core concept videos. And I like I said, I do have to finish up with Cicero's On Duties. I just have a little bit of stuff from Book 1 on temperance to do. And then I did promise to do some core concept videos on Heidegger's Introduction to Being and Time. I know people have been waiting for them for a while, so I will be working on those. But I think I also want to do some core concept stuff that, people are going to probably need before the end of the semester. And so I think what I'm going to do is some stuff on Descartes, some stuff on Plato, gaps where I haven't done things. And I don't know, I might do some Locke or some Hume. I got to think about this. There's so many things that I haven't done core concepts on that could really use that treatment. I'm going to do some more Q&A videos, most of which I think will focus on Stoicism, but maybe some of them will be broader. Those are looking at sort of common questions, the sort of things that keep popping up over and over again that I think people might be helped out. I need to get on some book reviews as well in the Dr. Sadler's Honest Reviews series. So you can look for some of those coming out this month. I'm also going to try to do some of the Dr. Sadler soapbox thing. There's plenty of things to talk about. I just wasn't able to get to it last month. I have another interview video coming out this month, and I'm going to try to do some more interviews depending on people's schedules. And then finally, I've got a few personal videos that people have been asking for that I think I will do as well. So that is, the plan. It's pretty ambitious. We'll see how much of it gets done. Like I said, I'm still, sick, so I have to pay close attention to how much time I'm devoting to this and that, and really how much energy. Sometimes I just wind up so wiped out, depending on what I'm doing. But I did manage to get some exercise in last week. I'm going to be going tonight and working out as well, and trying to get back on track this week. So last thing that I'll mention, if you're interested in tutorials or philosophical counseling, go to the website Reason.io and you can see what it is that I do. You can also email me directly at greg@reasonio.com. And if you're looking for somebody to come speak, if you're a longtime fan, you know how many different topics I can talk about. So if you've got a group, organization, institution that's looking for a speaker, or you've got a conference and you're looking for somebody to come in and give a keynote address, if it's philosophy related, I'm happy to come in and do that. Again, you can reach me, Greg, at reasonio.com. That's the best way to get that going. Hope all of you have a great and productive month, and maybe I'll see some of you at the online events.